Half hour. Hello and welcome to Half Hour, an entertainment podcast through Two Worlds Entertainment. I'm Richie, Artistic Director.
And I'm Jeff Malone, Executive Director.
Welcome to our weekly podcast where we recap the theater and music industry news and events of the past week. Today is Friday, July 16th. We are over halfway through this summer month. And things are picking up. The world is opening again more and more. I say that every week, but every week more and more it's happening. There are things happening and content is coming out and news is coming out, and we love recapping every week all about that. So we have three really cool, awesome topics to talk about today, all very different, but all regarding the space of entertainment. So we're going to, without further ado, dive right into one of our first big topics, which is a pop-related thing. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Mr. Jeffrey.
This week, we're talking about episode 2 of This Is Pop, a Netflix show kind of going through the history of pop music. And this episode was all about that lovely thing called auto-tune. The episode really focuses on kind of the origin of it, who created it, and kind of focusing really on interviewing Mr. T-Pain. And it was interesting to watch this whole thing because T-Pain was searching for something that was going to make him different, was going to make his sound different, because he was like, I'm just going to be like a boring R&B singer, hip-hop artist if I just put out what I am doing. And he's like, how am I going to make this different? And something that caught his eye was listening to a commercial for something in pop music, and he heard something in Jennifer Lopez's If You Had My Love, and then he also heard Cher's Believe, and he was like, that's the sound that I need on my music. And he went and he kept trying to find it. He was getting different types of technology. He was downloading software. He was doing this, and he didn't know what it was until he finally found it. And he was like, this is going to change my sound. And what I loved about it was he kind of was discredited as an artist by many people in the scene. And then but also a lot of people praised him for what he was doing. But he was like, you know, I was not the first person to use auto-tune. And I found that interesting in the industry because he was right. I mean, like, we've always kind of wondered what is in pop music, like that makes people's voices, you know, this robotic sound, this hamster like listening sound. And they go back to Cher when Believe came out, and that was in 1998. And when you really listen to that track, you're like, wow, there was so much auto-tune in here. And as kids, we probably were like, how does Cher sound like that? But we loved it. But she wasn't really disregarded as an artist. She wasn't like thrown away. People embraced it and liked it. And then when T-Pain came along and did this, people were like, no, you're ruining the industry, you're doing this. And I wondered to myself, why was one artist kind of allowed to do it and one artist, you know, because he just launched into the scene that way, it was not, maybe because it was R&B and it was hip-hop and it was pop, it wasn't really pop music, although it crossed over into pop. So, like, what do you kind of think, like, I don't, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the interesting thing about autotune in general to me is a lot of times music can be defined by the decade. And so when I say music of the 1950s, you can kind of guess what that is.
Yeah.
And then I say music of the 1960s, and you can kind of guess what that is. And then the 80s it changed because it was like rock versus pop, okay? And then 90s, like, you kind of think R&B and pop, right?
And grunge.
Yeah.
You know,
and do you see what I'm saying? Is like
Yeah.
every decade that goes by gets a little more convoluted. And then we get to the 2000s, and the last 21 years, to me, personally, have been like, well, you have Adele, right? And then you have, like you have bands, and you have girl groups and boy groups, and then you have like Michael Bublé, and then you have, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a little bit of everything. So when auto-tune comes in, and you have all these rappers, mainly this documentary is talking about rappers using auto-tune, but Cher did too, and this was mainly focusing on that. It made me realize, like, oh, it sounds like it's time and place.
Yeah.
If you're in a club and you're listening to autotune, like, does it matter? Like, you know what I'm saying? But if you're going to a concert to hear someone sing, does it matter there? And I think it's time and place. I think this documentary episode was very pro autotune. They were interviewing engineers and really smart scientists and people saying, like, this is why this worked. And then it kind of was like pulling on the heartstrings of, like, T-Pain feeling like he was lost hope and faith. And then when he sang live like that, it was like, oh, wow, this guy can actually sing live, and the world realized that. But it's like, why did it take him going to NPR to sing live like that? It's a lot of
Because
things
he never really
going on.
put that vulnerability out there for people to hear him actually sing. I think this was this persona that he created, and he just had to own it.
Well, that's what I'm saying too, is like music, when you say music, it means everything from Lincoln Center Opera to T-Pain, right? And everything in between. And so like, what I'm trying to say with the decades thing is there's no definition of sound anymore. And I think that we have to be smart as human beings and realize time and place. I don't want to hear auto-tune in an opera. Yeah. Don't put mics on. Well, first of all, there's no mics used in opera, so we would probably never hear auto-tune in opera. Right. But don't put mics on people in musical theater and auto-tune the live mic. Don't auto-tune. And this is me personally. I don't want to go hear T-Pain's mic auto-tuned in the concert. I want to hear T-Pain sing the music, and I want to feel the music, which might be different from the recording. But I think for me, it comes down to I don't think that there's a time and a place for auto-tune. To me, it works when I'm like listening to an awesome song in the car, or I'm in the club, or I'm dancing and I hear, and it's, to me, that auto-tune doesn't really matter in situations like that. That's me personally.
Do we auto-tune the mics? I don't even know.
There's rumors
I know
that sometimes
voice coders or whatever, but I don't know.
I don't think so. There was always rumors that maybe it would happen in live performances, whether they be concerts or Broadway. I don't think it ever happened, but there was always rumors. People thought, oh, because of this, could that technology be put into a live mic? The second I speak into it, it's going to auto-tune for an audience live. That I don't like.
That would be crazy.
I have no patience for that. We'll have another podcast episode about
that. That means anyone could be an artist.
Yeah.
You know?
But this is a specific genre. It's almost like you have to look at autotune as like a genre. I know it works in many genres, but it's a science, it's a tool, and as someone really smartly said, and I wish I remember who said it in the documentary, it's you can use technology and tools for good or bad. He used the laser beam example. You can have a laser beam destroy, or you can have a laser beam light up the world. And that laser beam can do good or bad. So auto-tune is in the eye of the beholder, in the eye of the person who is using it. And as a society, we have to decide how much or how little we use it and where and when. That's how I feel about auto-tune.
I guess, too, it's like we are all human. We're not all perfect. Do you think that we as humans, though, want to hear perfect sounding music, and that's why auto-tune is such a thing in the industry right now? Or is it there to kind of help save time for producing and mixing and engineering? Because, you know, how many takes does someone have to do on a track before it's finally good? Like, think back to Broadway, and who was it? Elaine Stritch was doing The Company, was that?
Company, yep.
And how many times did she have to do Ladies of Lunch? And
but I don't know if that was a musical vocal tonal issue. I think that was like a character getting the song down issue. I think it was a theatrical issue.
Right, but let's jump to today. If they were recording that album, would that have been a problem?
I think so, and let me tell you why. I think autotune also works really well with the synth and electronic sound of music. Would it have made any sense for Elvis to sing autotune with no electronic backing other than a live drum and a live guitar? It wouldn't have made sense. Like, some things wouldn't have made sense, but when you think of 80s and 90s and that electronic sound, okay, autotune kind of goes hand in hand with that. It doesn't make sense for acoustic singing, live orchestral acoustic singing, in my opinion, to have an auto-tune, because then you're mixing like apples and oranges. Why would you be auto-tuning Elaine Stritch's voice on a live orchestra of Sondheim? Unless the live orchestra of Sondheim had synth in it. You know what I'm saying?
I think what I'm saying is just like to hit the note.
Like, yeah, but
if she wasn't hitting the note, but she almost was hitting the note.
It's a different art form. You hit the note in Broadway. Hit the note.
I agree, but I'm just saying, what was it originally designed for, though? Was it designed, though, to just quickly fix?
I don't know if it was, because someone made the comment in the documentary, more people are flat than you realize. I don't have perfect pitch, but I've been working in the music industry a long time, and I can usually pretty much tell when something is flat or sharp. So I know, in all my years of experience working with live singers, that I know when someone can... It's almost a disservice to someone like Celine Dion or Christian China, or these people who can clearly hit the note, no problem.
Well, they play the clip of Whitney doing I Will Always Love You.
She would have never needed auto-tune.
She was just perfect.
Right.
But I'm thinking, like,
but then
today...
again, T-Pain didn't really ever need auto-tune. He went with it.
Well, he's creating entertainment.
Right.
You know, he's writing good music. He's writing good beats. And You know, he just was like, how am I going to make myself different than everyone else? In a very, very saturated market of new musicians coming into place, you have to make yourself different. You have to be the Lady Gagas and the T-Pains of the world to kind of make a mark in this world.
Right, so it's almost like usually what you hear on a recording is what you also hear in a concert, usually.
And
so
when do you ever go to a concert and hear what you exactly...
No, but auto-tune divides that even more, because maybe T-Pain wants to sit and do an acoustic version of Buy You a Drink at his concert, and maybe 3/4 of that audience will be like, what is this? We didn't sign up for this. So you have to realize what you're listening sometimes on a produced track may be slightly different. It's not with Broadway tracks. 99% of the time what you hear it on the track is what you're hearing live on stage. But that's just the audience, the world, as I said earlier, the human world needing to be more open to these things.
But I think we also want this perfect sounding things. When you hear the Ariana Grandes and the Dua Lipas and the Selena Gomez's of the world, they don't always sound the same live. Obviously they're doing more, but like, is it because their vocals are getting fixed?
Well, half the time, and we always talk about in two worlds, the pop and Broadway world. Yeah. This would make, let's say you're an artist and you're wildly successful with autotune, and then let's say that artist does a 6-month run on a Broadway show, and because this happened before, and people say, oh, she can't act, she can't sing, he can't act, he can't sing, whatever, whoever we're talking about. Now as humans, we need to understand, well, what did you expect? Right. If you're now someone like T-Pain could go onto a Broadway show, probably great, and sing live. But if you're overproduced in the studio, how do you expect them to do it on a Broadway stage 8 times a week, anywhere near that? So it's different. And we have to learn to accept, if we're going to introduce these, I'm very open to it. I'm opposed to it in some forms of the art of music. But if you are open to it, then you need to be open to the change. Because live is live.
I'm always open to the change. I love live things, but I also just like entertainment in general. Yeah. And it's really cool. And I like technology. I think we need to embrace technology as people and just let it be, you know? Yeah. It's either I think T-Pain said it nice, I'm not making it for you. Yeah. I'm making it because I love it. Yeah. And if you like it, join the party. Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't, I don't care.
And this even leads into some of the latest songs that you were just talking about, some of these video clips we talked recently, right?
Yeah. I tied in the whole auto-tune thing here because 2 people who have had major viral success, one being Miss Rebecca Black.
What a name.
Throwback.
A throwback name.
This is actually the 10-year anniversary of Friday.
Oh my God, that's so long. Can't believe that, yes.
Yes, she's kind of dabbled in the music scene a little bit. I think she was discredited as an artist because of that track. You know, Mommy and Daddy paid for someone to make a music video. It probably was never meant to go viral, but it did when we were back in college. And everyone knew this. It was a YouTube sensation when YouTube was still at its high and you could go viral on YouTube, and like all these other things like TikTok and Instagram, they probably weren't even like, Instagram was a baby then. Right. And TikTok was not even thought of. So now, Rebecca Back, she's 24 now, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. And she has this new little persona around her. She came out with a new track called Worth It for the Feeling. And we watched the music video. And she's doing this whole like pin-up dominatrix type thing. She's breaking that mold of like, hey, I used to be 14 and I would decide which seat I was going to take in the back of a car.
Yeah, when there was only one seat.
Only one seat. We're still here for that today. Yeah. But I'm curious to get your take on this, Mr. Broadway.
I guess what I don't really understand is, like, we saw this with Ed Sheeran, with that wildly different song he did too. I don't really understand this constant trend for people to constantly reinvent themselves. You can totally have a new sound once in a while and a new look because we're humans and we evolve and we change, and why not? But I don't know where this. Maybe Miley Cyrus started this trend. But I don't understand, like I look at someone like Lady Gaga and Celine Dion and some of these people, like Beyonce, and I'm like, they never had to completely change their look and their sound all the time. I don't get it. Like, to me, it just doesn't, like, live, what are you good at? Do that. Once in a while, change it up, because why not? But this constant need to and some people could argue Gaga changes a lot because she does a lot of different styles of music, but her look and her vibe and her feel doesn't constantly dramatically change. So Rebecca Black singing Friday and then doing this like bizarrely borderline under-budgeted looking like weird, I don't know. It looked a little, I don't know. Maybe
throw the shade.
Listen, nothing to do with budget. I just think it's just weird to me. I don't really know. I have no idea who that girl is. If I saw her on the street, I would have no idea who she was.
I think that's one thing that she's struggling with is her image. And what is it? Because like the thing that's a little cookie cutter and old for me now is this. I was once a child star or a teenage star, and I need to break that mold by having sex appeal. And that's what pop has been for a long time, but it's done. It's a little done.
Yeah, and it's also like, remember your roots, own it, enjoy that, grow from it, but grow from it.
I guess what's interesting, though, is she did do a remake of Friday. That,
but I'm like... and it always comes down to, we talk about this all the time, it always comes down to who is in your corner of your ring, who is in your back pocket, who is producing you, who is funding you, who is in your team, who are you talking to every day. I always want to know with these artists, who are you sitting down with on a Friday night after the work week talking about your career? Are you talking to one? Is anyone giving you ideas? Is it all you? You have to have a team, it takes a village.
The point of that, though, too, is like she did this remake of Friday, and it's super auto-tuned. You don't even hear the girl's vocals. And I think I've actually heard her sing before. She can carry a tune.
Yeah. But this other
song...
It
kind of leads in, though, to this next person I want to talk about. Is this craze of hyper-pop that's going on right now.
Oh, good
This is
Lord.
not Richie's cup of tea
it's not.
at all.
What did I say about him? And then I was like, I can't understand a word that is being said right now.
But it's fun. I don't...
But it's the
fun.
vibe. It's a vibe.
The guy's name, his stage name is ElyOtto, and the song is called SugarCrash. He brings Kim Petras onto the track as well. They are having this viral moment. His real name is Elliot Platt. He was cleaning fish tanks at the start of the pandemic, because he's only 14, by the way.
Wow.
And now to date, this new track has more than 5 million videos made on TikTok with that song. He has 85 million Spotify listens and a #1 on the streaming chart, the Viral 50 streaming chart. So it has a great success. It landed him a record deal with RCA Records. That's crazy.
Yep.
But like to go from something, he's an overnight sensation, and it's on accident because he went home. He was like, I've been making all these beats and these synths and all of this, and he just put it up on his SoundCloud, and then it went to TikTok, and people just started making videos, and it goes back to this TikTok sensation thing. Like, let's embrace the technology, but you can be an overnight sensation on TikTok now, and it's literally defying the charts because the song doesn't have to be amazing.
It's a vibe. It's a bop. It's a thing that kids can dance to. They can listen to in the car. They can laugh about. If it's joyous,
I do like it.
Why would I shit on anything that's joyous? From a music perspective, I don't really understand the lyric or I don't really get it. But I mean, I appreciate it. It's different. It's just this hyper auto tune. Like beat me over the head with this.
That's kind of like go eat Tide Pods and.
Oh, good Lord, no! We're not advocating that.
No, we're not. But that's what it feels like. Like, ooh.
It's a little Gen Z thing, which is great. But I think you're gonna hit a ceiling eventually. You're gonna get to the point where like the music's going so fast and the vibe is are you spinning out of control?
Yes, and yes, not advocating to eat Tide Pods, but that's what it sounds like. Right. And the video too. It's this whole visual thing. Anyway, enough about auto-tune. Let's go to real tune.
We'll go to tune land. So today, actually, on Apple TV Plus, which is another streaming subscription service y'all gotta get to listen to this. This is a new, charming, amazing, funny, hilarious TV show called Schmigadoon, a play on the words of the musical Brigadoon, right? Schmigadoon. It is produced by Lorne Michaels, SNL, and Cecily Strong, who also stars in it. The first 2 episodes are out. I think there's going to be 6 or 8. I think 6 in total for the whole show. The first 2 are out today. Every Friday, a new episode's going to come out. And I had to bring this up because we watched it today, and we're just dying laughing. Hilarious. I mean, it's about. I'll give you a quick thing. It's Cecily Strong. Her and her boyfriend are having some issues. Keegan-Michael Key plays him, and they are on an exploration adventure trail, and they stumble upon Schmigadoon, and they're stuck in Schmigadoon because they can't leave, and you can't leave until you find true love, and they're realizing that maybe they're not in love, or they are, or they're having some issues, but the whole town is a musical. these people in this town live a musical theater life. They break into song whenever they want, they dance whenever they want, and there's a wonderful Broadway talent. We have Kristen Chenoweth, Alan Cumming. Oh my gosh, so many more people I'm forgetting. Martin Short at one point.
Aaron Tveit.
Yeah, Aaron Tveit, right. Like, oh my gosh.
Ariana.
DeBose, right. So many amazing people. So, and I was like, okay, this could be cool. This could be weird. We'll see. But what an amazing, I mean, I am blown away by the homage to old musical theater, the poking fun at the old musical theater, these two modern people in this old show, and the one-liners are wild, and it's just hilarious. And I think the scenic is glorious. It's so theatrical. It looks like you're in a children's book, and it's so
funny.
glorious, and it's
really
funny.
funny.
The two people I'm going to highlight here that I'm just so impressed with are. One being Cecily Strong. I think I've seen her do these bit things on SNL. To see her hold this role, I'm like, you are so talented. You're witty. She sings in it.
Oh, her comedic timing
is brilliant. And I'm like, oh my God. Unfortunately, I think she does overshine Keegan-Michael Key quite a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think she's really, really strong. The other person I have to mention, well, Cinco Paul and Ken Dario are the creators. Cinco Paul is writing all this original music, which is like this awesome, like, homage to, I mean, there are references to The Music Man, Oklahoma, Carousel, Brigadoon, Finian's Rainbow, like the classics. And if you know the classics like I do, which I live for, it's just every other moment, it's just brilliant. The diversity representation is amazing, because when you think of those old 40s musicals, you think of like white. And so you see all this diversity in there, and and the costumes and wigs are glorious, and it's like you're watching a Broadway show.
It was funny, they even made a joke. They were like, and it's colorblind casting.
Yeah, right. So I'm really looking forward to, I hope a lot of you will see this. What was your thoughts on just the overall vibe of it? I heard you laughing quite a bit. I was
super entertaining.
Loving it.
It gives me a lot of. It reminds me a lot of Something Rotten that we saw on Broadway. It's like, this little joke on musical theater, and it's like, you end up in a little musical town, and this is exactly what I would expect if you did end up in a musical town. It's very well done. I like them breaking into song. I like the fact that when they do break into song, after they forget that they broke into song.
Yes.
It's really funny. It's super witty, and I can't wait to see where this show is gonna go.
I think it's smarter. It's interesting because I think it's smarter than I realize. As I'm living on it, I'm realizing like it's oh God, it's hard because it's such an homage to the art form, but it's also poking fun in the way like that scene. I'm gonna spoil this, so please watch season 1 and episode 1 and episode 2 when Keegan-Michael Key goes with Dove Cameron, and she's like, "This is where we go open our picnic baskets," and it's like, were the writers in the 40s and 50s writing this realize, like, it's such sexual innuendo, but he's like, what's going on here? And she's like, oh, I don't know how old I am. And he's like, are you good? It's poking fun at this like extreme gender, like the men do this and the women do that. And like, there's the Alan Cumming moment where he's like, he thinks he might be gay, but it's all these like modern things seeping in. We have to remember the 1940s, 1950s, when these shows came out. They're maybe not set in the 40s and 50s, but when they came out, it wasn't that long ago. And yet it was this extreme, squeaky clean, G-rated, like, but then you watch it and you're like, oh, that's great dancing. Oh, also the orchestrations. Like, you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, this orchestra is glorious, and this is like 2, 3, 4-part harmony singing, and they're singing and the wigs, and you're like, oh my God, you miss it. It's perfect timing right before musical theater comes back and Broadway reopens, because we haven't seen this in so long.
And I think the theme is funny too. Like, you have to find true love to get out of the musical, and it's super Disney. It's it's just funny, and
we'll see what happens.
The highlight song I think was that corn pudding.
Oh my God! And they're like, "Why are we breaking out into song?" And they sing this whole song because how many times do you talk to people who don't like musical theater or don't really see it much? Like, people don't just break out into song in the town, and that's what they're poking fun at. Corn pudding comes up, and they just happen to miraculously know a whole song about corn pudding. So.
This is one of those escapism TV shows that I really am enjoying right now. I love reality. I like being rooted in reality. reality shows as well, but like I also like escapism. TV.
Yeah.
It's not real, but it's
Yeah.
fun. You know?
And we're going to keep talking about This Is Pop on Netflix and Schmigadoon because every
Yes.
week we'll have a new episode to talk about because we have a few weeks to go on a few of these shows.
Watch along with us, you know.
Yeah. So totally check out Schmigadoon. I really, really enjoyed it. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, we were speaking about reality. We're going to go to one more show, reality TV show, which we had a new episode of RuPaul's All-Stars Drag Race
yes.
Season 6.
Hopefully you're following along with that too.
Yes, because yesterday, which was July 15th, came out the new episode, and today we're going to talk about it, which was the TV talk show episode.
Yes, it was called Pink Table Talk, which is like a play on Red Table Talk. And my immediate thing is, what is going on with the judging this season?
It's very like, well, if this is the person that's going to go home, let's just read them.
Yeah.
You know, I get the vibe that that's what
I'm
it
just
is.
very confused with what's going on. But back to it, it's like the Pink Table Talk, they had 3 themes. It was on body, it was on motherhood, and it was on sex. The 3 queens, well, the 9 queens were split up into 3 different groups. There was supposed to be a host, and there was like 2 different panelists on the table, and they all had a conversation. One of the teams won, but they were safe.
Judges, right.
So judging number 1, weird.
Yeah, it was a weird episode because then, I don't know, Ginger Minge wins.
Yes.
Great. Personally thought Eureka should have won. I thought Eureka was the best host.
And that was the winning team. So it didn't really make sense.
And I thought Miss Scarlett going home, I know, that was such a bummer for you because you're a big Scarlett. I know, sorry. Make sure you watch this.
Right, obviously, if you're listening to this, hopefully you've already
Watched
watched this.
some of these
But,
things.
like, yeah, I don't know. So the bottoms were Jan, it was Scarlett, and it was Kylie.
Yes.
And Jan.
I know, poor Jan. She's crying and the whole thing. I know.
She's just, I think Jan's time was not yet. For
Yeah.
All Stars.
Yeah.
It's still a little immature. It's the same thing I was seeing on season 12.
Yeah.
And now, like, the real reason Ginger didn't pick Jan was because they were on the same team.
Yeah, now it's getting clicky.
So now it's not on track record. Although Jan did have the win. But
yeah, but I'm sorry, Scarlett, I understood part of the read because Scarlett is a little in between her drag persona and her personality, and she's a little lost in the clouds sometimes on that.
Yeah.
However, the looks are always there. I think she has the best wigs anytime she comes out. The grandparents' letters on the dress with the pattern, I mean, she should have just been safe just for that. And it was a shame that she, and don't forget, RuPaul doesn't decide who goes home in All Stars. The contestants do. Ginger did a great lip sync, and
Ru did put her in the bottom.
Yeah.
So I just have a feeling this judging, it's getting really overproduced, the whole show. It's like, it's predictable from day one who's going to be in the top. I don't know. We still don't know what the twist is. So
they keep
anyone
saying
really
show
has
in a show, a game within a game.
Anyone has a chance to come back, but this judging is not making sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really not. And
now we're down to 8, right? Top 8. So we'll see.
And I can't wait to see what the Queen's choice was going to be.
Oh, we're gonna find that out next week.
Because that's going to be an interesting take. Because this was just up to Ginger.
Yeah.
And and there was a little Bianca Del Rio moment.
Oh yes, when she came out, I was like, oh my god, she's in her Norman Desmond look, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna. And no, she didn't.
I know, that was funny. And then Mayhem Miller came out, and
that was okay. But I don't really know if I'm enjoying all of these lip sync assassins. It's like some of them are great, some of them are like okay.
Yeah, we've had some moments. Sometimes I'm confused as what qualifies you as the assassin.
Yeah,
but this was kind of like Ginger's in the bag. We had Lizzo's.
Yeah, that was funny. That was
my
great.
phone.
It was
get
an
my
acting
phone, but
yeah. So.
Anyway. We'll see what happens next week. I'm now sad that my favorite front runner is gone.
I always said she just looked just like Elizabeth Taylor.
Scarlett, if you're listening, we love you. We love you.
Oh, there it is. It's time. Ding dong ding. We talked about a lot of cool things today. We have we had RuPaul, we had Schmigadoon, we had This Is Pop, all these awesome things. This is what we talk about. We talk about pop and we talk about theater and the two worlds and how sometimes they're vastly different and sometimes they're more similar than you think. So that's our mission,
yes, we love it.
We love it. So we thank you so much for listening today, and we hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Mm-hmm. Please subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Music and leave us a review if you love what you heard today. We also want you to join our conversation and engage with us. So head over to our Instagram at Two Worlds End. That's at TWOWORLDSENT. And comment on the latest post about this podcast episode. We'd love to hear from you. What do you want to hear about next week?
Yes.
We're always
Let
here every
us
week.
know. Tell us something you want us to talk about.
Yeah. So there we go. Until next time, signing off for now, I'm Richie.
And I'm Jeff.
Ta-ta.
Bye.